Your air conditioner might be doing exactly what it was built to do, and your house still won't cool down. That's the part folks don't like hearing. They think the problem is the machine outside. Bigger unit, newer unit, smarter thermostat, more insulation, more foam, more bills. But all the while, the heat's coming in the same old way it always has, through glass, roof, and still air. And if you're trying to fight summer after it's already inside your walls, well, you've already lost the first round. I want you to picture something for me. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Sun's been sitting on the west side of your house like a blacksmith's hammer. Your thermostat says the house is supposed to be cool, but the room still feels heavy. Not hot like an oven, exactly, just tired. Sticky, stale, the kind of heat that gets in the furniture and stays there, and every few minutes that air conditioner kicks on again, groaning like an old mule pulling uphill. Now most folks blame the air conditioner. I don't, not right away. I look at the windows, I look at the attic, I look at the porch, the curtains, the roofline, the shade, and the way the air moves after sundown. Because an old house, if it's built with any sense, will tell you where the heat is sneaking in. My name is Elias Mullins. I've lived up here in these Appalachian hills long enough to see more than one kind of summer. The kind with dry dust on the road. The kind where thunderheads stack up over the ridge by supper. The kind where the night don't cool down like it ought to. And I'm going to show you a little $4 trick my family used long before folks had fancy thermostats and phone apps telling them their house was miserable. But I'll tell you right now, the trick itself ain't the whole lesson. The trick is just the handle on the door. What matters is understanding where the heat is coming from, why your house holds it, and why cooling the inside after the sun has already cooked it is about the most expensive way a person can live through August. And if this kind of plain old porch knowledge is useful to you, you're welcome to stick around with me. Subscribe if you want to. I'm not here to holler at you or sell you a miracle. I'm just sharing what the mountains taught us, one hot afternoon at a time. Now, here's where most people get fooled. They think heat only comes from hot air. But a powerful part of summer heat comes as light. Sunshine comes through your windows, lands on your floor, your couch, your kitchen table, and then it turns into heat right there inside your house. Once it's inside, your air conditioner has to remove it. That means you already paid for the heat to enter, and now you're paying again to push it back out. That's why old mountain houses had porches, not because folks wanted a pretty place to sit, though we surely did. A porch is shade with a roof on it. It keeps the sun off the walls and windows before the heat ever touches the glass. That matters. Modern energy folks will tell you the same thing in cleaner words. Exterior shading is stronger than interior shading. A curtain inside helps some, but by the time sunlight hits that curtain, the heat has already crossed the window. You're catching the horse after he's jumped the fence. The old trick is simple. A white cotton sheet. Muslin, flour sack cloth, an old bed sheet, anything light-colored, breathable, and plain. You hang it outside the window that gets the meanest afternoon sun, not inside. Outside, you fasten it under the porch roof, on a couple hooks, clothespins, or a tension line. Let it hang a few inches away from the glass so air can move behind it. If the day is dry enough and there's a little breeze, you can mist it lightly with water, not soaking, just damp. If it's humid as a creek bank, don't bother with the water. The shade alone is doing the biggest work. That right there is the $4 trick, a piece of white cotton between the sun and the glass. Now, I know that sounds too simple. Folks are trained to distrust simple things. But simple don't mean weak. A shade outside a window can stop a surprising amount of heat before it ever enters the room. Studies and energy guides have said for years that stopping solar gain at the outside of the window works better than trying to block it indoors. The old-timers didn't have the phrase solar heat gain. They just knew the west room stayed cooler when Mama hung a pale cloth outside before noon. Thing is, you've got to hang it before the heat builds. That's the part people miss. You don't wait until 3 o'clock and then start fighting. You hang it in the morning on the side that takes the afternoon sun. South windows matter too, depending on your roof overhang, but west windows are the bruisers in summer. They take that low afternoon sun straight in the face, right when the whole house is already warm. When I was a boy, my grandmother had a back room that faced west. Little room. 2 windows. Tin roof over part of it. In August, that room could turn mean by supper. She'd take a white cotton sheet, clip it to the porch line, and let it hang loose. If there was a breeze, that sheet would move just a little, like it was breathing. The room didn't become winter, no sir, but it stopped getting worse. And sometimes, stopping a house from getting worse is the difference between comfort and misery. That's the part I want you to hear. Cooling a house ain't just about making cold. It's about preventing heat from storing itself in every board, rug, and wall you own. Your house has memory. Maybe not like a person does, but close enough. Wood, drywall, brick, tile, furniture, they all soak up heat during the day. Then at night, when you're trying to sleep, they give it back. That's why some houses feel hotter at 9 at night than they did at 4 in the afternoon. The air might be cooler, but the building is still exhaling the day. Now let's walk through it mountain way. First, find the bully window. Every house has one. Maybe it's the big living room window facing west. Maybe it's a sliding glass door. Maybe it's a bedroom window that turns into a lantern around supper. Go stand there at 2 or 3 in the afternoon and put your hand near the glass. Don't press hard if the glass is hot. Just feel the air around it. If it feels warmer than the rest of the room, there's your culprit. Then hang your white cotton outside that window. Light color matters because dark cloth absorbs more heat. Cotton matters because it doesn't trap heat like plastic can, and it can move a little air. Keep it away from outdoor lights, grills, anything hot, and don't staple cloth where it can touch old wiring or vents. We're trying to cool the house, not create trouble. If you've got a porch, it's easy. If you don't, you can use removable hooks on the outside trim, a simple line between 2 safe points, or even a cheap shade cloth if that's what you've got. But the old $4 way is just a white sheet and a little common sense. Now, dampening the cloth is optional. I want to be plain about that. Evaporation can pull heat from the air, but it works best when the air is dry enough to accept moisture. In the Appalachian summer, we get plenty of humid days where a wet sheet just becomes a wet sheet. On those days, use it dry. Shade is still the big prize. If you live somewhere drier, a light mist can help more. If you live where the air already feels like soup, don't add more water to your house than you need. And never hang wet cloth where it stays wet against wood all day and night. Take it down, let it dry, keep things clean. Moisture is a tool, but if you let it linger, it becomes a problem. That's true in houses, barns, cellars, and gardens alike. Now, before somebody says, Elias, I've got blinds inside already, let me tell you the difference. Interior blinds are like wearing a hat after your head is already sunburned. They help some. I'm not against them. Close your blinds during the hot part of the day, especially on sunny windows. But outside shade is better because it keeps sunlight from striking the glass in the first place. The glass doesn't heat as much. The room doesn't heat as much. The air conditioner doesn't have to fight as hard. You know, modern folks love complicated solutions. Smart vents, smart thermostats, smart sensors, smart everything. But a house doesn't care how smart your thermostat is if the sun is pouring through 6 feet of glass every afternoon. That thermostat can only read the problem. It can't shade the window. Now, the window is only one part of it. The next place I look is the attic. An attic is supposed to be a buffer. That's a good word for it. The roof takes the sun. The attic catches the worst of it. Then ventilation helps move that hot air out, so less of it presses down into your living space. If the attic can't breathe, it becomes a heat bank above your head. I've seen attics so hot you didn't want to stay up there longer than a minute. That ain't unusual in summer. Attics can get dangerously hot, especially under dark shingles. So don't go crawling up there in the middle of the afternoon acting brave. Go early morning. Use a good light. Step only where it's safe, and if you see bad wiring, mold, animal nests, or anything that makes you uneasy, call somebody who knows what they're doing. What you're looking for is simple. Are the vents blocked? Are soffit vents covered by insulation? Are gable vents painted shut or clogged with dust? Is there air coming in low and going out high? Airflow needs a path. A vent on one side with no intake is like a chimney with no draw. Now, I want to be careful here, because folks argue about attic ventilation like they're arguing religion. Some houses are built with vented attics. Some newer systems use sealed, conditioned attics. Both can work if designed properly. The trouble comes when a house is half one thing and half another. A little vent here, foam there, insulation stuffed where air is supposed to move. Bathroom fans dumping damp air into the attic, and nobody understanding the whole system. So don't just start cutting holes in your roof because an old man on the internet told you attics need air. What I'm saying is this: understand what kind of attic you have, and make sure it's doing what it was designed to do. If it's a vented attic, those vents need to be clear. If it's sealed, it needs to be sealed correctly and managed correctly. Nature doesn't forgive halfway work. In old mountain houses, airflow was part of the design. High windows, low windows, porches, shade trees, roof vents, transoms over doors. The house breathed when the evening cooled. Warm air rose and escaped. Cooler air entered low. Engineers call that stack effect. My granddad called it opening the right window at the right time. Here's the evening part of the trick, and it costs nothing. When the sun drops and the outside air is cooler than the inside air, open low windows on the shaded side of the house. Then open a higher window somewhere else if you have one. Warm air wants to rise. Give it a way out. If you've got a box fan, put it blowing out of an upper window or a warm room, not blasting hot air around inside. You're not just chasing comfort, you're flushing stored heat out of the house. But don't open windows too early. That's another mistake. If it's 92 outside and 78 inside, keep the house closed and shaded. Opening windows, then, is just inviting summer in for supper. Wait until outside is cooler than inside. Then, let the house breathe. And if your nights don't cool down, that's different. During a heat wave, sometimes the night air stays heavy. In that case, you focus harder on shade, reducing indoor heat, and keeping rooms closed off. Don't cook a big meal in the oven at 5 in the afternoon and then wonder why the kitchen feels like a forge. Old families had summer kitchens for a reason. They cooked outside or cooked early. They ate cold meals when the heat was worst. That wasn't poverty of imagination. That was wisdom. I'll say something else, because it matters. Don't run a stove burner just to create a draft. I've heard people talk like that, but it's not a good trade. You're adding heat to remove heat, and with gas, you've got combustion and moisture and safety concerns. Use fans, windows, shade, and timing. Don't make the house hotter just to prove a point. Now, around this part of the day, I want you to think about your own house. What did your parents or grandparents do before air conditioning was common? Did they sleep on porches? Hang sheets? Close shutters? Plant shade trees? Open the upstairs windows after dark? Leave me a comment and tell me. I read those stories because there's more good knowledge scattered in family memory than most people realize. Let's talk about trees for a minute. A tree is a slow air conditioner. Not the kind you buy, but the kind you plant for people you may never meet. A deciduous tree on the west or southwest side of a house can shade walls and windows in summer, then drop its leaves in winter when you want sun. That's old wisdom and good science walking hand in hand. The trouble is, folks cut down every tree near the house and then wonder why the siding is too hot to touch. Now, I understand. Trees can fall. Roots can cause trouble. You don't plant foolishly. But shade is not decoration. Shade is infrastructure. A porch, a vine-covered trellis, an awning, a shade cloth, a tree, they all do the same kind of work. They keep sunlight from becoming indoor heat. And here's the interesting part. The smaller the house, the more these little tricks matter. One hot window can change a bedroom. One shaded wall can ease a whole side of a cabin. One cleared attic vent can lower the burden above your ceiling. You may not notice it like flipping on cold air, but you'll notice the air conditioner resting longer. You'll notice the room not climbing so fast. You'll notice sleep coming easier. That's how old knowledge works. It doesn't always announce itself. It just makes life less harsh. Now, if I were helping you this weekend, this is what I'd do. Before noon, I'd walk the outside of the house and watch where the sun is headed. I'd find the west-facing glass and hang a white cotton shade outside it. I'd close interior curtains, too, because every little bit helps. I'd keep doors closed to rooms that don't need cooling. I'd avoid the oven. I'd run dishwashers and dryers after dark if I had to run them at all. I'd check that the attic vents are not blocked, but I'd do it safely and early. Then, after sundown, only when the outside air has cooled, I'd open the house in a way that lets air enter low and exit high. That's not glamorous. But it works with the house instead of against it. Some folks are going to say, well, that won't replace my air conditioner. I never said it would. In dangerous heat, use your air conditioning if you have it. Take heat seriously, especially for children, older folks, pets, and anyone with health problems. A $4 cloth is not a medical device, and it's not magic. But it can reduce the heat your cooling system has to fight. And in a heat wave, taking weight off the machine can matter. This is the difference between old wisdom and foolish pride. Old wisdom says use what helps. Foolish pride says suffer to prove you're tough. I've got no interest in suffering for show. If the heat is dangerous, get cool. But while you're at it, don't ignore the simple things that kept houses livable long before every wall had a compressor humming outside it. The world has made comfort complicated. Sometimes it has to be. But sometimes comfort begins with noticing. Where does the sun hit? Where does the air stop moving? What room gets hot first? What cools down last? Is the shade outside or inside? Is the attic breathing or holding its breath? Nature always leaves clues. People just stopped paying attention. So try the $4 trick. White cotton outside the hottest window, a few inches off the glass, hung before the sun gets there. Keep it dry on humid days, mist it lightly only when the air can take it, and let shade do the honest work. Then pair it with nighttime ventilation, safer cooking habits, and a house that's allowed to release the day's heat after dark. You may not turn August into October. Nobody can. But you might make that back bedroom bearable. You might let the air conditioner rest. You might sleep without feeling like the walls are breathing warm air on your neck. And more than that, you'll start seeing your house the way old builders saw it. Not as a sealed box full of machines, but as a living shelter sitting under the sun, shaped by wind, shade, moisture, and time. That's the lesson I hope you carry with you. This weekend, stand in your hottest room and ask one question. Where is the heat getting in before I ever get a chance to fight it? Once you find that answer, you're not helpless anymore. Take care of your home, respect the weather, watch what the old houses still remember. And until next time, I'll be right here on this porch, listening to the cicadas and waiting on the evening breeze to come down off the ridge. Y'all stay cool now and be good to one another.